here, I don't remember what I was gonna say. I was gonna pause there. In a situation like we saw earlier, that's what I'm gonna go back to, when we saw, both teams kind of just dancing back and forth right around this, top mid lane, the purple mid lane. I'm just gonna call it the top mid lane. That's what's gonna be referred to as now. Top mid lane, bottom mid lane. Anyway, in the top mid lane, when you have when both teams skirmish around right around this area here, just right around this area, a little bit to the side here as well. Um, Someone like Darius has a very good engage move, which is his apprehend, which will really pull in that weakened target who just overextended just a little bit. Actually, gonna come into myself here. Apprehend just overextending just by that much, just that much. See how little that is, little that much, and his apprehend will just whoosh, and then that's where you go in. That's where you go from there. That's where you get grabbing a smack. You grabbing a smack there. You're gonna. That's well, I'm trying to figure a way to articulate this well, and I'm just repeating myself. It's where you immediately engage. When you pull out an AP caster, that's their burst damage. That's their glass cannon, as I refer to them a lot. Their glass cannon where you just destroy them, so a big bit of their burst damage is immediately gone. They may be able to get some off, but you've now engaged the team fight. You've now started that, and you've immediately pulled down one of their stronger damage dealers, or stronger burst damage dealers anyway. You still have the other ones to worry about, but that's a really good engagement move right there. That's just a way to look at it. And down here, what we just saw, they went for another bit, but it wasn't really so much as a dance around as it so much was just a big two rocks just coming together and with one rock getting a bit of a better game from there, better team fight from there. We did see both of them go down. Yorick to the hemorrhage, or was it? I don't know if it might have been the fear actually of Fiddlesticks. Fiddlesticks so annoying. Different conversation, different day, different games. We'll get into that some other time. And Darius drop to. I seem to have missed that. Well, nonetheless, we'll just go back on with the game. Actually dying right together, it would seem. Born to be together, it would seem. As long as we have this moment, I'd like to point out that I find, for any of you who've played Legend of Zelda, I'm actually going to pause again. And look back at, oh, I never even went back into the game, excuse me. For any of you who've played Legend of Zelda, especially Ocarina of Time, I like to bring in focus on Yorick for a second, just as a man here, just as a person himself. I'm going to lean back as I go into my theory here. Yorick, I find, is Dampé. He's a younger Dampé from The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. Dampé being the grave digger from the graveyard in Kakariko Village you find very early on in the game. I think if he would have a deeper history, if Dampé had a history, it would bring him back to the League of Legends where he fought as he fought as Yorick before he changed his name through some inexplicable circumstances that led him there. I don't know what they would be, but yeah, that's what I consider to be truth. I'm not usually one for lore discussions, especially not lore I'd make up pulling out of my butt in the middle of a thing like this, but stuff like that nonetheless that keep me going at night. Anyway, after my ridiculous rant, we'll actually get back into the game here. See him respawning pretty soon there. We can actually look back at the items again. There's now picking up a time at allowing Leland. Liam is not a word. Wish it was a word. That'd be a very useful word, wouldn't it? Alleling. Anyway, his time at which grants him all that extra damage, plus a melee only weapon. Very good for him. Very melee centric, as we've seen, with his large axe that likes to cleave through people's skulls. I like large axes, especially in the hands of men who know to use them. There we see another good example of not another example, but a different example of what Darius is very good at, and that's focusing on one enemy champion. He's not good at, although though, is being surrounded by 4 of the other team. Which is, we'll see the purple team grab a Baron there. Nah, not a bad idea at this point in the game. They just win a solid 2 kills over the other team right by it, and he's like, well, I'm right there, might as well get it. And then Phil's foolish enough to warp in there. I guess he tried to snipe it. Wouldn't really work out for him anyway. But there's another thing Darius is very good at is singling out that one enemy. It's really tracking them down, grabbing them in, and push and hold them down. Especially when you get into this part, we're about 35 minutes into the game, 36 minutes. That's to the point where you're gonna be running around, and cooldowns are long. Cooldowns are much longer than they have been, and if you can kill one, you can take them out for almost an entire minute. An entire minute is a ridiculous amount of time. Another team fight there. And we actually see Yorick use a bit of is actually using his ultimate very well. For the first time, he drops on himself, and he's actually right. That's one of the better things he could have done. Is although he doesn't allow, he never allows stuff, because he did manage to get taken down by, excuse me, by Darius. In death, he did manage to take him down as well. So that was a good trade-off there. Darius still miles ahead of Yorick when it comes to kills. Actually the farthest ahead of everyone. Actually had some 16 kills, the highest in the team being 11. Excuse me as I fix my glasses. Couldn't see for a second. And now we see Darius picking up more melee-centric items such as his Ravenous Hydra, which allows all that extra lifesteal. At this point in the game, a lifesteal is a very good bit of thing to go for Darius. Maybe even a bit of attack speed wouldn't go amiss. Along with his Warring Mail, he's really taking a lot of damage and dishing it out as well. Yorick actually going for a bit of a different, very defensive build, a bit of a tanky build, grabbing a Warmogs. And here we see him dropping an ultimate on, I believe. I want to say it was Graves. I didn't really see it though. But he just managed to take out the turret though, so that's good enough for him before he's dropped himself. Does manage to take out Darius though, so not a bad trade there. Always trying to even things out. Another lonely action. I know they're up top doing shit, but focusing on top champions. Yes, as I was saying, Yorick going for a much more tankier build at this point in the game, grabbing a Warmog's armor, and building his Mass Immune into his Muramana. I like that word, Muramana. Allowing all that extra damage. Also, his Iceborne Gauntlet. One of my favorite things about Season 3 is all the new items. Ooh, and there we see, this is the difficult part about this game, is all the abilities really flash off really fast. I'm gonna definitely need to sit down longer replay so I can identify more spots. And then we actually saw Darius be taken out by Galio. I'm trying to engage there by himself. It was a 2v2 against a Graves and a Galio, but generally that's a pretty hard off situation, especially when your backup would be Nidalee, and that's not usually your preferred backup there. She can deal out some damage, but she's not really the bursty type like Graves, and Galio has so much sustenance to him. Basically, a whole counters off Nidalee pretty well, so that's really where the advantages come for her there. So just a bit of a misinterpretation of the way things should have gone there. Now Respawn though, we see him also picking up his Radiant's Omen, Randians. God, there's so many awesome, fun names to say. I love lore, guys. I love lore. I'm a lore junkie sometimes. Where do these items come from? Why are they here? Seeing the second now Baron going down for the blue team this time. That's always fun. And at this point in the game, as you're in this position, you're not the carry. You're just that big fucker who hits shit really hard. That's who you are. You're that big fucker. You're a bit of a controller. You're a bit of control, but you're mostly that big fucker who hits it hard. We're just gonna watch this, and Darius actually taking down Yorick there, using his abilities to the best of his ability. Plus the Baron buff really helps that shit along. Just helps that shit along. That's the most articulate way you can put something in. It just helps that shit. Just helps that shit along. Lol. Ooh, look at that dead body. Again, I've lost my thought here. I knew I was talking about something before I got off on shit. It'll come back to me. Oh yes, your role at this point in the game is really, as I said, the big motherfucker who hits shit. And with someone like Yorick, you do have that control ability with his W, really able to slow, got a bit of crowd control. and also has his own bit of burst damage with his Q. You know, like get food out of my mouth. Ah, I just not stand food in my mouth, especially when if it's not there. I don't know if it's there. I don't notice. I don't really mind it, but if it's there and I know it's there, that's just gotta come out. Otherwise, it's all I can think about. Oh. Yeah, there's actually a bit more of a good crowd controller with his apprehend and his decimate, really able to just and with his hemorrhage ability, it really is able to just slow all of his opponents down. So that's really something you want to be taking into mindset when you're engaging at this point in the game with your champion who's been playing top all game. And we see Darius doing something foolish, and that's engaging under Gala's ultimate. Also, could have probably been supported by Fiddlesticks a little better there with if he could have ulted in sooner. But hey, we're the eyes in disguise, but it's always a bit of an easier thing to say like that. Hmm. Oh, oh yeah, got that. Ah, ah. Yeah, you. It's really a pretty bad idea to engage under a Galley Ultimate in general, as I was pointing out earlier, but especially to do it alone against other people, that's really just asking for it. He may have wanted to go back and he was just too lazy to do it himself. Whatever. Just bad play. And now we're seeing the real late game as we are breaching in about 50 minutes here. Yorick actually grabbing a Thornmail. I love Thornmail. It's one of the biggest FU items to a team like this. With Sivir, who's dealing her own really fast AAC, she's the AD carry, so she has almost 350 CS right now, doing miles ahead of everyone else, so that's fantastic for her. Oh, excuse me. So, that's a really good item to think about buying, as it will just turn all that damage against your opponent. There's the, using his engagement powers there, trying to, get Yorick in on that, not really succeeding. And obviously, actually doing the smart thing, which is waiting for that, Galileo ultimate to run its course before really going in. We actually saw them able to pick off Darius and actually leaving Yorick alive for once. Haha, that's happened before. Hasn't happened before, I would say. Hmm. Focusing just right there for now. As we've yet to see Darius spawn. Back into our items now, we do now see them just get into fun items now. This is where items just buying is fun to me. Before it's all, oh well, I have to buy this now, and this will make the most sense here. And now I'm just having, but now at this point you're just like, F it, and he drives an agelessly. That's not an F it move, but it's more like I have to think on my feet now, and that's fun because the art of build orders is weird. It's like I have to get this now, and then this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and that's not what you want to do. You don't want to focus so hard on a build order that you can't vary it up. And a solo person like this, it's very important to be able to be able to vary your item builds and your ability scores. It's very important to be able to do that, as you don't want to be caught in something that you can't, like, because as soon as it doesn't work out, you're like, what do, how, don't know. And with so many team fights going on, it's usually pretty hard to be able to see exactly what's going on at all times. Darius does manage to move in and get a kill down on York before being pulled down by Jin Shao, being just a little ignored there. I like people just jump back and forth. I like their corpse is very close. I like Darius. Darius is one you can see he's falling down. He's still reaching for his axe. Probably dropped on his way down. And York just sprawling like, F it, I give up. Can't deal with this shit. I'm too old. Now for really these are like the closing moments of the game here. I just like to move ahead and point out like some of the really this is pretty much it. Nothing really interesting aside from the end really happens here. And there's just a couple more things that I'd like to point out about each champion and their really abilities to engage at this point in the game. Darius, we've already talked about his ability to engage in a team fight in general, really start that, get that weaker champion out of the protection and the cage of the enemy, and just really just bite down on them hard and